charming car, this charming man. Why panther-life's complexity when the leather runs smooth on the passenger seat? We don't need no education.
Maybe David Unsworth seeing Rooney charging round and putting a few tackles in, and probably if you do that in academy football, you worry that somebody's lost a head and might get sent off. But Wayne Rooney's been Everton's best player today, the source of inspiration. He was trying to get his team up for it with his performance and his work rate, and I think that sums up what I was talking about with Unsworth before. He's a glorified PE teacher, you know. He's an academy coach. He shouldn't be managing a man's team, and he's here in a caretaker role, and it won't last long. Glorified PE teacher.
Wow, Monday morning, you never know what to expect here. Honestly, he just called him Billy Bunner a moment ago. I'm scared to have a biscuit this morning. Welcome back to the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast Report. My special guest, Joey Barton, was all over the back pages this morning. He's labelled David Unsworth a glorified PE teacher. Oof, strong stuff, Joey. Following the Everton caretaker boss's defeat to Leicester City yesterday. And for more on this and all the big stories make today's papers, John Labdis here, the former Arsenal midfielder who's putting a few pounds on himself. Turn broadcaster Adrian Clark. Morning, Clarky.
Good morning, boys. I'll tell you, I'm sucking in my waist this morning.
See that, mate?
Joey's always already. Am I okay to do the paper review? You know, I'm over 13 stone now.
You'll have to check your BMI, mate.
I've got a fair bit of body fat on me.
Hey, look, you're not leading a team of athletes, mate. Because Al's certainly not an athlete, so you're not leading a team of athletes.
No, look. Do you not think you were being a little bit mean? I mean, back page of the Mirror, glorified PE teacher. I will take you up on this. You called him a PE teacher and a steward. I mean,
I said he looks.
Yeah, he looks like a steward
more than a manager. He looked like a steward standing on the touchline more than a manager.
Yeah.
He's standing there just pointing his finger.
But I mean, there are quite a lot of chubby managers out there, aren't there? I mean, not loads, but Rafa Benitez is
but
not slim.
He wasn't when he was 44 and he took the Liverpool job earlier on. If you look at the pictures of him, he's a lot slimmer than what he is now.
Yeah.
You know, as you get older,
Joey, I'm almost 60 as well. Thank you.
But it doesn't affect his
age,
it doesn't affect his tactics. It doesn't affect his judgment.
His tactics and his game plan was flawed. No doubt about that.
I agree completely with you on that.
Completely.
I tell you what he said.
Went to Leicester and left himself incredibly vulnerable.
I tell you what he said. He said first half we were awful, second half we dominated. Did they?
No, they didn't. And then Rooney was the best player, by the way. Rooney was the best player, and he drags Rooney off.
What he did, though, ahead of kick-off, he did what most Everton fans have wanted to see, and he picked two wingers, and he went for a bit more speed and dynamism down the flank. But what he did, he ripped it up at half-time.
You're Kevin Morales, been in the wilderness, said to Al before, and you're Aaron Lennon, you know, been in the wilderness. Firstly, Aaron Lennon's own personal issues. You know, the last thing you need to do as a senior player is be dragged off in a live Sky game at half-time by a manager who's saying he's bringing you back from the wilderness where Koeman had you. How does that endear you to players? Then he drags Rooney off, who was Everton's best player on the day. And I'm telling you now, the only reason he did that was to say to the people who were hiding, I'm not scared to make big decisions. I'm ready to be the big boss man of this club. Look, he's not managed senior football. If you want to be Everton manager, go down the levels, do your apprenticeship, earn your stripes, come back and put yourself in the position. But he's not.
He has not just stepped off the pitch.
He's trying to do a shortcut by being Bill Kenwright's
I
mate.
agree with you on the fact that he may well be trying to carry favour with Kenwright, prove he can make the big decision. I actually think you're probably bang on that. But he's not new to coaching. He's been a coach since 2009. He's worked at Preston. He's been a caretaker manager before. He's worked with under-23s, who aren't all kids. I mean, this is not someone that just dragged off the street.
He's talking about managing Everton Football Club in the Premier League.
Well, they need to get the house in order and get someone in, don't they?
He's an Evertonian.
I'm an Evertonian.
Yeah, he feels for the club.
Well, do I?
Who do you want?
Well, do I think Unsworth should get the job now?
I want somebody who's earned these stripes. Look, at this moment
Sean
in time,
Dyche, Sam, who?
Look,
Moyes back.
I've heard Everton fans saying Thomas Tuchel. Look, Thomas Tuchel would be insane to take the Everton job mid-season in a league he doesn't know, in a team that's struggling. Everton need to cut the cloth accordingly here. They're going to get relegated. They're not too good to go down. They're in the bottom three now on merit. If they don't get this appointment correct, they're in big trouble. I'm an Evertonian. I don't want to see Everton get relegated. So, if Unsworth gets the job, he's inadequate. He's not good enough to take the Everton
who between
job.
Dyche, Allardyce and Moyes then?
Well, listen, that's not my role.
You'd be happy with any one of the three?
Everton have got to make an appointment. They've got to make it now, and it's got to be a permanent appointment for the next 5 years. We've seen Leicester. Look, Leicester have made their minds up easy. Claude Poole did a great job yesterday. All he did, turned Leicester out to do the same. They were at it for him because they knew they had a permanent manager in place. They got to impress him, and they battered Everton.
I agree with you. I don't think Unsworth is necessarily equipped to be given this job. I think you got a bit personal with him, but
you have to be. You know, if you've got players who are less than 5% body fat, professional athletes. He's took Morales and Lennon off at half time and then said to them, "Hey, you're not running around, you're not trying hard enough." And they're sitting there. I'm telling you, I'm a player. You're sitting there going, "Well, you can't."
But Jose Mourinho was a translator. I mean, do you think players didn't respect him because of that?
He will have earned his stripes. You've got to earn your stripes.
He's played over 400 games. I mean, it's Unsworth.
But he hasn't coached at an elite level. He hasn't coached in the Premier League.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, but starting somewhere is not in the Premier League. It's not backdooring, cuddling up to Bill Kenwright, because he knows Bill Kenwright's romantic about Everton Football Club to try and get yourself a job. Go down the leagues. Go and earn your stripes like loads of other managers have done before you, and then you will be justifiably in a position to get the
job at the moment.
Who's backed him?
What's his job? He's given himself a job.
Manager.
No, he's not. He's director of coaching at Everton.
He's on the pay. He's
I mean,
on the payroll, Blackie.
What is that role? What's director of coaching?
Well, it's not his fault that he's been asked to do the caretaker duty, is it?
Okay, well, do you know what he did? Do you know what Unsworth's done? Unsworth has had a fantastic group of players, kids who've gone on to win the Under-20 World Cup, kids who are out now playing league football, a phenomenal group at Everton who won the Under-20 Freeze League. And if Unsworth is about player development and developing players, then fair enough. He might be good at that role, but he's not a first-team manager.
Clark, I know you've moved north. Are you the new PR at Everton?
I'm just.
You're now going to say one of the Nevilles is back.
I'm putting the opposite opinion out there.
One of the Nevilles has backed him, haven't they?
Phil Neville, Phil Neville.
Come on, who listens to what Phil Neville says? Come on.
I agree with Joey that
he was after the Everton job himself last week, and he was saying Ryan Giggs should
I don't think he should get the job, but I also think that you're being way too harsh on him. But look.
But can you be? Does that set the right tone for your football club if your manager stand on the touchline and he's overweight? Does that set the right tone as the leader of the organisation?
No, I don't think it matters at all.
What? That you're a professional athlete and the guy
you've got coaches that run around and do the training.
Hang on, your manager. If your manager's sloppy, everything cascades down from him. If your manager's daily habits are poor, I'm telling you, I've played in there, I'm telling you what you look at.
I just think
your manager comes in at half time, starts digging you out for not running, and you aren't secretly thinking, "What are you on about, you fat so-and-so? Who are you talking to?"
I think you earn your respect by your actions as a manager, and that is your decision making.
Dragging senior players.
His decision making was wrong, but I don't think his body shape should come into it.
Yeah, it's massive. It's huge. You're a leader.
You're talking nonsense.
It's huge.
Move on.
Huge.
Right. Clarky, look to your right if your neck crams up far. 7:15. We're back with Adrian in a tick.
I think the perfect appointment. And Burnley fans will kill me for saying this, but there's no better than Sean Dyche. But if you can't get him out of Burnley, or Burnley won't let him leave, then Sam Allardyce. Hey, David Moyes done a great job at Everton.
Okay.
All of them are better than David Unsworth, in my opinion.
Right. Jim White's here and thinks Joey's bang out of order. Jim, morning.
Good morning. How are we? Joey, good morning.
Jim, how are you, mate? Good. Are you going to tell me what you said outside, or are you going to say what you're saying online? I'm only joking.
No. I mean, it's an interesting debate, isn't it? I mean, Unsworth will be interviewed, if he hasn't been already, by Mashiri and Bill Kenwright. And he wears it, you know what it's like, Joey. I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's an Evertonian through and through. I don't know, is there a bit of history between you and David Unsworth?
Absolutely none, other than I had to endure watching him play for a long period of the season.
It sounds as if it was abysmal. It sounds as if there is. I mean, I've got to say, I think he's trying his very best. He's doing a good job. He's in there on an interim basis.
But he's chirping himself up for the job, Jim. He's saying, "Yeah, I'm the man. I can take Everton on."
Yeah, but why shouldn't he?
Well, because he's not.
But why shouldn't he talk himself up?
Well, it's a fraudulent claim. He's not ready. He hasn't gone and done the levels. He hasn't gone and worked out down the levels.
Fraudulent is too straight. It's nothing fraudulent about it.
Well, it is.
I mean, clearly there's history between you and him. To be honest, I agree with you with some of the names you've mentioned there. Dyche, I think Marco Silva would be a great candidate, but with all due respect to Watford, all due respect to Burnley, they are bound to be shortlisted. I'm quite sure of that. Sam Allardyce as well. But great, to be honest, David Unsworth.
Would you give Unsworth the job, Jim?
Is there. Well, it's not down to me, but
I'm asking you, would you give him the job?
I think it's quite right that Mashiri and Bill Kenwright are according Unsworth the respect they're giving him.
But bear in mind, Bill Kenwright is a
day,
theatre impresario, and Moshny is Usmanov's right-hand man. Neither of them are football men. So why would they have the skill or the credibility to appoint a football manager? They're not football people.
And where's Big Duncan in this? Well, Duncan's sitting on the bench on his own there. David was talking to someone else. What's Duncan doing?
I've got to say to you, Alan, I think there's something quite exciting about an Unsworth-Duncan-Ferguson partnership.
He wasn't confined in him at all.
I'm quite amazed at some of the Evertonians coming on and siding with Joey here. I mean, there's clearly history between Joey and Unsworth. And at the end of the day, David Unsworth the other night, he conducted...
I've never had a conversation with David Unsworth. There's no history at all. I'm telling you, as a football man who knows football, if you'd appoint him, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Look, Unsworth's had 2 games in charge. But the tactics and the game plan yesterday were incorrect. He's lost both the games. He's going to lose on Thursday night.
Did you see the game at Stamford Bridge the other night? He went about that absolutely brilliantly.
They lost the game. They're out the cup. They lost the game.
He's a man with a plan, and he thinks he's got the credentials to get the job. How Jim, he can be faulted for that, I do not know.
Because he's not good enough. He hasn't done the requisite amount of.
And the thing is, Joey, you are
games.
proving yourself, mate, to be a very, very good pundit who's played the game at the highest level. I couldn't kick my own backside. But having said that, I do think it's out of order to attack him on a personal basis, because I think there and then your argument for or against David Unsworth is blown out the window. I mean, to attack him about being overweight.
Well, I'm not lying, am I?
No, but why bring it up in the first place?
Well, he's got to tell. I'll tell you why.
Why bring it up in the first?
Jim, you're going to let me speak, or
you're not exactly a pioneer of setting the right example yourself.
Well, okay, that's fair enough, but I'm not in a position to lead people. I'm not saying I want to be manager of a Premier League football club. Look, he's in charge of professional athletes. Firstly, let's get this right. He's tactically and strategically inept. That's why Everton lost the game yesterday. He is not good enough to manage Everton.
His first Premier League game in charge yesterday.
Listen, I'm telling you, he is not good enough.
Well,
the
second half was different to the first, wasn't it?
They got beat 2-0. They never laid a glove on Leicester. Look, and then he was taking senior players off. If you let me answer, I'll give you the answer.
Yeah.
He is not good enough to manage Everton Football Club at this moment in time. Listen, if he goes away, works down the levels, proves he deserves an opportunity, then look, I'm not saying don't give him a shot because he's overweight. Look, but also, he's in charge because he's in charge. Everything in football is about perception, how things look. Obviously, you've got to have the requisite skill, but it's important as the leader of a group of athletes that you set the right tone. If you can't control or don't have the self-discipline to set the right example from the top, then how can you demand that players are fit, they're in shape, and they run hard for you when you aren't yourself?
He wasn't to know that Kenwright and Mashiri were going to pull the rug from under the feet of Koeman, and so he could turn around and say, right, when you're doing it, like, you're doing it in a couple of days, give me like 2 days and I'll shed 4 stone. I mean, it's just ridiculous to go at him about his weight is a cheap shot.
But it's not lying, is it?
That was
so
poor.
You say he's in shape.
I'm not. That is not even.
Well, I'm asking you. Does he look in shape?
It hasn't even entered my head.
But if I'm going to tell you to get in shape, and I'm going to tell you what to eat, how to train, how to run, how to be an athlete, drag you off a half time for not working, would I be in
How
my?
would you feel if you were David Unsworth this morning and he turns his radio on in his car and he's driving
slightly
somewhere?
Body conscious.
Maybe to meet Mashiri somewhere. And
he's
hearing Joey Barton having a cheap shot about his weight.
Do you think he'll get the job, Jim? Seriously.
I think he's a genuine contender.
Would you give him the job? Would you give him the job?
I think there are others ahead of him.
Would you give him
in
the job?
Queue.
It's a yes or no.
But he's a genuine contender.
Jim, would you give him the job?
It's not down
yes
to
or
me,
no.
Joey.
It's yes or no. That. Would you give him the job? Come on, make a decision. Stop sitting on the fence. Would you give him the job?
At this precise moment, there are better in the frame.
Yes or no? Would you give him the job?
It's not down to me to either appoint him or not appoint him.
So that you've answered there. You won't say yes. If you believed him, you'd say yeah. But you don't.
But at the end of the day, having a cheap shot about his weight just as what was he, some PE
I've
teacher
I've done him a favour because I've deflected from the fact that he had no tactics and no strategy in the game. So Unsworth should be phoning me saying thanks for that because you've helped deflect from the fact that I don't know what I'm doing.
I tell you what, when he does phone you, give me a shout. I want to hear that one.
When in this